is about fire extinguisher. When you have small fire at your house, use throwers to extinguish it.
Hello and welcome to the Outside View presented by Throwers. Well, the wickets in first over, some substantial performances, and beautiful display of sport. This is how women's cricket made its debut at the Commonwealth Games 2022. The first match itself was an anticipated one, and it's always the case when India and Australia face each other. So, what happened yesterday? What can we expect from the today's matches? To discuss all of these, I have alongside me our experts, Yash Lahoti and Mohit Shah. Welcome both of you to the show. So let's dive straight into it now. The first match, India versus Australia. India put the target of 155 for Australia there, and the total looked quite competitive because Renuka Thakur picked up 4 wickets, gave that early breakthrough. Lot of positives for India from the first match. But if I have to come to you, Yash, with my first question, what according to you went wrong for India in yesterday's match? Did they miss someone like a Pooja Vastrakar, both with the bat and the ball badly?
I think so. Of course, they did miss Pooja Vastrakar, but see, that is unfortunately not in your hand. So you should be planning, you should have a backup, you should have all those things ready, which unfortunately India didn't have. You could have asked, okay, a core to bat a little lower, maybe because not Jemima Rodrigues, not Yastika Bhatia, or anyone for that matter, is able to close out on the innings. In that yesterday's lineup, it was only Harmanpreet Kaur who could have done that, but she came at 4, and it was a little early. I felt in the lineup that they had, and of course, not even Harleen Deol. So you basically put out Richa Ghosh from that 15, so she couldn't play. You didn't have Pooja Vastrakar services owing to COVID. Because you didn't have a lot of options. So I think so. In the batting, except for Harman, nobody else did perform. Like, of course, Shefali did, but that was like very much at the start. Nobody was there to finish the innings. Nobody was there to take from whatever that 150 to 180 or 170. Could have been a little more competitive. Bowling wise, except for Renuka Thakur or Deepti Sharma, you didn't have bowlers. It just looked like, oh, okay, the other bowlers are just kind of bowling.
Question here, Yash. Do you think Deepti Sharma should have bowled in the power play in yesterday's match? Is that what you think, if you have to put it that way?
I think so, because what you did was you bowled Renuka Thakur from the 3 overs, and the 3 overs were Deepti Sharma, Rajeshwari Gaikwad, and Meghna Singh. So I felt that you could have given that to Deepti Sharma because she bowls good at the start and the end. You basically messed up that entire thing, I felt.
So that's that, and of course, Australia, Grace Harris and Ashleigh Gardner saved the day for them, building up a partnership and providing some stability to Australia's innings. So Australia have those 2 points to their account, and Barbados won the game that was played later in the day, the second match between Barbados and Pakistan, of course. I'll come to you, Mohit, with my next question. Barbados, of course, played for the first time at the international level, the women's team. How special it was to see them dominate the proceedings against a strong Pakistan side, if you could say that, because they came from a good match practice as well as a series win against Sri Lanka, and also played the tri-series against Australia and Ireland there.
Yeah, it was a very, very impressive performance from the Barbados team. Like, people who have followed them on the domestic circuit of the West Indies would know that this is what they do day in and day out. But like Yash was saying in our preview, like, the level of competition at the domestic level and at the international level is significantly different. But to like make the step up so impressively is something that really impressed me. And I think like all their senior players pulled their weight for them, be it Hayley Matthews, Deandra Doughton standing up to bowl the end overs, Kaisia Knight taking the responsibility to bat through the innings. We saw how good Shamilya Cornell was with the new ball. Very first ball, like, she bowled a very good outswinger and got a wicket. Shakira Selman again like bowled really well through the middle overs. So I think there are a lot of positives, and I've been saying it since the beginning that this is a team that can beat any team on their day. Like, they probably are one or two batters short, which is why Hayley Matthews batted in a very uncharacteristic fashion. Because for them to win, they need one of Doughton, Matthews, or Kaisia Knight to be there till the 16th, 17th over. So, and yesterday, like we saw with Australia as well, this is a pitch which gets easier to bat on as the innings progresses. So, Hayley Matthews and Kaisia Knight showed very good game awareness to not take any undue risks against Pakistan's two best bowlers, Nida Dar and Tuba Hazan. They just rotated the strike, got those 6-7 runs in an over. And then in the last 4 overs, they were lethal. They scored 44 runs. And I think like what we also saw was they are very, very good in the field. They are probably as good as say Australia or England in the field. Their athleticism is second to none. Their throws are very quick. So like every time Pakistan batters were running to, they had to like really stretch. Whereas when Kaisia Knight and Hayley Matthews were running those twos, they were almost strolling through because they knew that the throws were not going to challenge them. So I think this is a very dangerous team, and I see them causing an upset or two in this tournament, definitely. They've already caused one because, like you said, Pakistan had been in very good form, are a team that's constantly improving. So yeah, like very, very impressed with Barbados.
If they cause the next upset, India is out of the competition.
No, I'm hoping they cause the upset against Australia, which allows India to probably top the group then and face a slightly lower quality team in the semis.
Well, that's a very bold prediction. It's for all of us to watch what happens. But Barbados definitely would be a happy team today. And we are also happy because we have two other matches today and it's going to be big ones. New Zealand versus South Africa is the first match that will be played today. So talking of South Africa first, they'll of course not have Marizan Kaap. She's out because of personal reasons. So Yash, do you think it's going to hurt South Africa badly because she's been a star player for them, both with the bat and the ball? Is a different form altogether. She was in a different form altogether recently. But in her absence now, who do you think is that one player for South Africa who should step up, and who do you think is going to dominate the proceedings for South Africa?
I'm not sure if there is going to be anyone who's going to dominate the proceedings for South Africa, because if you see the South African team, they're kind of half to their full strength. There is no Tanewa who bats and bowls. There is no Marizan Kaap who bats and bowls. Lizelle has retired. You don't have Tumi Sekikune. This like it just looks like, oh, okay, this is a half-baked South Africa side. You basically don't have your best players who could have caused a lot of upsets. When South Africa went for the World Cup, we didn't know beforehand that Tanewa was not going to play, but had she played, that would have been a full-fledged South African side, and everybody was predicting that, okay, South Africa can win this World Cup. Come to this Commonwealth, it's just 3 months, come to this Commonwealth, and people are not even putting South Africa in that semi-finals thing, because that's how weak the team is at the moment. And of course, Marizan Kaap, whatever you said and done, the last 2 years, 2.5 years, she's been in the form of her life, both with the bat and the ball. She's had her medical reasons, but at the same time, that has not stopped her from doing what she does the best on the field. If I have to predict someone who can do a Marizan Kaap role, it has to be Nadine de Klerk. She can do both with the ball. She can bat, but it all depends on how South Africa are going to use her and what is going to be that lineup of South Africa. Sunelise has told that no, we're not going to push Laura Woolford at the top. But I think so with desperate times should come desperate measures. She should bat at the top of the order. We've seen that they don't have the best of openers. So you should push in Laura Woolford or someone, because you already have Chloe Tryon who can finish off the innings. You have Mignon Dupree. You have Sunelise 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. But at the same time, you don't have your best two openers. So why not push Laura Woolford to the top? I know she's practiced a lot at that 4-5 position, but these are desperate times at the moment.
A lot of questions to be solved there for South Africa. Yeah, Mohit, please.
Yeah, I just want to chime in very quickly on that because I like fully endorse what Yash said, and people like talking about this earlier as well amongst us, that like it's bizarre how Laura Woolford is batting at number 4 in this batting lineup. And the point that Yash makes is very true, that this is a big tournament. Like, if you want to groom youngsters, that's a great idea and it's very good, but do it after this tournament, because if Laura Woolford is always walking out at 10 for 2 or 20 for 2, that just puts undue pressure on her. Like we saw in the England T20Is as well, that there were a couple of matches where she wasn't even able to take any risks. Like all she was doing was pushing the ball into the gaps and taking the singles, which a lot of players can't do. Credit to her that she's good enough to do that. But South Africa are not getting the best out of her. It's one thing to bat her at 4 when you have Dane van Niekerk, Lizelli, and Marizanne Kaap in your top 3 or 4. And it's another thing to bat her at number 4 when there are youngsters like Lara Goodall, Aneka Bosch, and whoever bats at 3. So I think if South Africa want to go far in this tournament, they should bat Laura Wolfat in the top 2.
Certainly, there shouldn't be any two thoughts about it, of course. At least we think so. But as we are mentioning about those big names from South Africa and how the team is dependent on them, but of course, we know that Dani van Niekerk is missing from the side since the ODI World Cup. She's recovering from her injury as well there. But what are your views on Sunili's captaincy, Yash? The way you've seen her carry the team since the World Cup to now?
She looks like a very strong captain, is what I can say. She hasn't had the best of players, hasn't had the best of resources. She's just trying to do everything on her own. Okay, this player is not doing, okay, still I have to do it. This is not happening. This injury, this retirement, this. So there have been multiple issues that she's facing, including her own hand injury, but she cannot even sit out of that 11 because she doesn't have someone else who can do what she does. So it's just that it looks like she's just trying to do whatever is given to her. But imagine if she is the full-time captain, imagine you have all these resources. I think so she can just utilize it better.
Fair point. Let's see how South Africa goes forward with this now. But speaking of New Zealand, they haven't played international cricket since the ODI World Cup. So Mohit, how do you see the team shaping up for this big mega event, and who are the players we should watch out for from the New Zealand setup?
Yeah, they've not played international cricket since the ODI World Cup, but they just played 3 warm-up matches against England. In the last match, they won by 9 wickets while chasing down a high score. And I think that is what New Zealand will aim to do in this tournament, because their top 3 is as good as any other teams. We spoke about this during the ODI World Cup as well. And the idea will be for them to get one of Sophie Devine, Susie Bates, or Melly Kerr to bat throughout the innings. And yeah, all now Bates no longer bowls, but again Sophie Devine and Amelia Kerr do bowl a fair bit, and I think they will be crucial with the ball as well. Both of them are great fielders, but this is a great opportunity for the youngsters in the New Zealand team to make their mark, be it Eden Carson, Izzy Gaze, Jess McFadden, or even somebody like Maddie Green, who's been around for a long time but hasn't always been relied on as much as she's capable of, because she again is one of the best fielders in world cricket. She's a very versatile batter. She can bat anywhere in the top 6. So this is a chance for players like those to show why the selectors have picked them, because ultimately we can criticize the selectors and say they were harsh to the senior players, and the senior players were performing well in an individual capacity, but the team just wasn't getting the desired results. There have been no big performances from New Zealand in major tournaments for quite some time now. They didn't make the semi-finals at each of the last 2 ODI World Cups. Even at the T20 World Cup in 2020, they failed to make the semis. So this was a team which just wasn't delivering the results. And you don't know how long the senior players are going to continue. So the selectors have showed a lot of faith in these youngsters, and every single one of them is there because they've done well on the domestic circuit. So their numbers are very good. Now it's just a case of bringing those same skill sets to a bigger stage and executing them. But the good thing here is Sophie Devine is a very good captain. Susie Bates is a very good influence on younger players. And same goes with Melly Kerr. So I think that is the advantage that the younger players have. Like Eden Carson told us in an interview that the senior players have been very welcoming, very encouraging. And all these things go a long way. Whereas, say, in the case of South Africa, some of the icons of that team are no longer in the squad. Somebody like Mignon du Preez has come back, but she herself is going through a very bad patch of form. So for her, the priority might be to find her batting form. So I think that probably gives New Zealand a slight edge in this match, because I feel all their players are in a much better frame of mind mentally, and their youngsters have absolutely nothing to lose.
So as you said that South Africa slightly has an edge there. So are you predicting South Africa to win this contest, Mohit?
No, I meant New Zealand has an edge here because they are.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah, New Zealand. Yeah.
I definitely think New Zealand are the favorites for me just because, like Yash said, like this is the team which is having a very tough time physically, mentally. There are a lot of injuries. The players are struggling. There's probably a lack of leadership. Ultimately, Sonelise is still a very young player. You have to empathize with her. She's doing her best, like Yash said, but there's just too much that has been put on a plate, and there's probably not enough support. So just
Right.
because of like the kind of senior players New Zealand have, as well as the promise that the youngsters have, I think they do start as the favorites.
So New Zealand starts as favorite for Mohit. What are your predictions for this match, Yash? Who do you think is going to win it?
Should be easy, New Zealand. If South Africa win it, it's going to be a bigger upset than Barbados defeating Pakistan.
Well, okay, let's see how what happens. And of course, when we join tomorrow, we'll find out the predictions if those turn right. But moving on to the next contest, of course, we'll see England and Sri Lanka facing each other there. But coming to you, Mohit, we have seen that Sri Lanka, this is going to be a big day for them. They played the Commonwealth Game qualifiers, and now they'll face England, who's in form, who's been dominant in the series against South Africa. So, how special this is going to be for a team like Sri Lanka?
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly special. Chamari Atapattu was the flag bearer at the opening ceremony, which is a huge honor and very deservedly so because she's as good an athlete as any in Sri Lanka across sports. So it's great to see somebody like her finally getting the recognition that she deserves because she has been one of the best batters in the world, but because she plays for Sri Lanka, she's not talked about as much as the others. And we've seen it that she's not one of those people who score runs against the lower ranked teams and like inflate their averages. She scores runs against the best teams, be it India, Australia, New Zealand, England. So this is a player who always like reserves her best for the best teams and for the biggest stages. We saw what she can do in England in the 2017 World Cup when she
Yeah.
had that one of the all-time great knocks against Australia. So if she does anything like that on her day, she's unstoppable. We saw it in the third T20I against India. Like Harmanpreet Kaur is a very good captain. She tried all her bowlers. They tried all kinds of things, but absolutely nothing worked. So when Chamari Atapattu gets going, any other team has to watch out. But there are also other positives to the Sri Lanka team. We always talk a lot about Chamari Atapattu, but now the senior players in the Sri Lanka team have started to come into their own and have started performing a lot more consistently than they have in their 10 or 15-year careers before, be it Inoka
Right.
Ranavira or Oshadi Ranasinghe. Both of them will bowl a lot in those first 6 to 10 overs. And again, England has a new look top order because Sophia Dunkley is a great player, but she doesn't have a lot of experience opening the batting. Heather Knight is not going to be playing today. That is a big miss. Nat Sever's a very good captain, but again, she doesn't have a lot of experience of captaining at the international level. So you never know if Oshadi Ranasinghe or Inoka Ranavira strike early, take a couple of quick wickets. The England lower order now no longer has Sophia Dunkley. Danny White obviously always bats as opener in T20I. So
Are
if
you
you
are
reduce
you
them,
trying are you trying to say that Sri Lanka is going to beat England today?
I don't, I,
So,
I don't think, I don't think that's going to happen. But if you are Sri Lanka, you have to believe that you can beat England, and this
Of
probably is your
course.
best way to do it. Yeah.
and
Otherwise,
all
that
I
for me, like England are probably the strongest team in the competition apart from India, because just because of that batting order and the approach that they have now, that's
yeah.
just unlike anything that we've seen in the past from England or from any other team in the T20I format internationally.
It just looks like the thing which Owen Morgan did after the 2015 World Cup to making them champions in 2019 is the approach that the England women's team is taking up immediately after this World Cup, because it was not that Tammy Beaumont was not in form. She was just asked that you're not good enough for our T20 setup the way we want it to look. You push Dunkley at the top, you get Capsey, you get Bryony Smith, and you just make a new look England team, but at the same time retain your core players of Wyatt, Sever, Knight. You still have Brunt there, and any which way Strapsolo was out, Parent was injured, so you get in Davis, you get in Wong. So I think so that's what so that England team is adding a lot of spice to that entire competition is what I feel.
And it's seeming like they are probably one of the most dominant England side that we've seen so far, Yash.
In T20 as yes.
Yeah.
Because so their approach is very clear that we need to go from ball one. And because they have a batting lineup which goes till Eccleston, because even in so Eccleston, the time I think so I started her first seeing in 2017, she was not able to clear those sixes that she's able to do right now. The last 1-2 years, if you see, she's ready to whack those balls for any wherever you push her. If there are 5 or 6 balls left, she'll try to just clear it off for sixes. That's what I think so the power that she's added. So if you see their batting lineup, it bats till 8-9, which is the similar situation with Australia. So they're just taking Australia's leaf in the book and they're just saying that, okay, just like Australia is saying, Perry, you're not good enough, so you will be in our 15, but not in our 11. The same way they're saying, Beaumont, you're not good enough for our T20s, you're not even in our 15.
Well, that's an important point because that's what we saw in the game against India also, that Australia's depth in batting saved the day for them because the batting unit struggled there. But before we wrap this up, quick predictions from our experts on this match. Of course, England have shown a dominant and fearless brand of cricket in the series against South Africa, and Sri Lanka have nothing to lose. But quickly tell me, Mohit, who's going to have that edge? Do you think still Sri Lanka can get some surprise there?
Yeah, I think you put it beautifully. Sri Lanka have nothing to lose, and that is the attitude that they should go in with. And then once you play fearlessly, anything can happen. We have seen it many times in the past. England are obviously the favorites, but I hope we get to see Chamari Atapattu at her best, so that all us cricket lovers are in for a treat today.
So let's put it out that way that Mohit is rooting for Sri Lanka, so that we have our experts on different pages. Mohit, yes, so that you'll go with England.
I'm not going to go with Sri Lanka. The problem is when you see these Asian teams, before Harmanpreet Kaur took over the captaincy, even India was in the same situation that they do not play fearless cricket. The problem is they go and they have a very conservative approach. So except for Chamari Atapattu, the rest of the batters, they're not going to push your case of above 110 or 120 strike rate. That's going to be the problem for Sri Lanka. If Sri Lanka says our top 7 are going to bat at 120 plus strike rate and Atapattu bats at 150 plus, that's where the chances come. The problem is they won't do that. And that's where you lose the game.
Let's see if they can do it today. Let's see if there are any chances for them to do that today. But of course, we'll join you with all the updates of today's game and the next day as well when we join you tomorrow for the outside view. So you stay tuned until then to Women's Cricket Zone for all the updates on women's cricket.